Welcome back to another episode of Discovering Fort Abraham Lincoln. My name is Johan, and today I want to talk about something that's especially important to me: education. Now, currently I'm actually going into my last year of college studying to be a social studies teacher. So I'll probably be stuck in a school for quite a while. But imagine if we lived in a world where schools didn't exist. Now, the concept of having buildings where people come together in order to learn has been around for thousands of years. But there have been cultures that have learned to thrive without them. And today I want to just talk about one example, and that's the Mandan of Slant village who lived here 300 years ago. For the Mandan, education was received in three major ways: listening and observing one's family, playing games, and joining clubs known as age-grade societies. Now, a Mandan child might not have had to go to school, but they would have been surrounded by teachers. And these educators would have been uncles, aunts, parents, grandparents, and they would have been teaching them moral lessons or practical skills, depending on whether you were a boy or a girl. So a young girl would have been primarily taught by the women of her Earth Lodge, and she would have listened to their stories that they told, which depicted examples of what they considered right and wrong. But she would also work alongside them as they made pottery, as they prepared hides for blankets and clothing, and in this way she would learn the practical skills required of her. Additionally, among these women, a girl's mother was responsible for teaching her how to take care of the gardens and watch over the family fields. Boys, on the other hand, were primarily taught by their fathers and the older men of the lodge, as they were expected to learn how to hunt, fish, and eventually protect the village. A lodge grandfather would teach the young boys how to make their own fish trap, and so that they could help them catch catfish on the Missouri River. But he would also help them make their own toy bow and arrows, which they'd play with and practice with, which brings us to our next important aspect of education: games. The Mandan played many games, and they certainly enjoyed them, but they also learned a lot from them. So right here I have two interesting games. This, of course, is easily recognizable as a doll, and girls would be taught how to make their own, but it was hoped that they'd play house with it and kind of nurture this idea of taking care of younger children, whether that was their own younger sisters or future children that they would have. But as they grew up, they'd learn how to make their own, and the hair here is taken from a buffalo tail, a buckskin for the skin here, and it's decorated with beads and medals. And then for the boys, they would play a common game they played was hoop and pole, and you can see here. So just imagine you're playing darts, but the board is moving. So one boy would toss this on the ground, and then one or two boys would throw a stick, and based off where it lands, you're awarded a certain number of points. So you can easily imagine how this would help a young boy practice hunting as he practices aim and accuracy. Finally, I want to talk about age-grade societies. You can think of societies as clubs made up of people around the same age. And so a Mandan child was expected to join their first society when they were around 12 years old, and in order to do so, they would pay a member of that society who was leaving to move on to the next oldest society, and in turn, they would teach them the songs, dances, ceremonies, and responsibilities of that society. Now, as you grew older, you progressed through all the age-grade societies that were expected of you, learning more about your people's history and religious beliefs, and your own personal obligations to the community. And this was one reason why elders were so deeply respected in Mandan culture because they had progressed through all the societies that were required of them. And in this way, they were the most educated members of the community. So you see, education was a cornerstone of Mandan society, just as it is in our world today. Although now education is emphasized in schools, we, just like the Mandan, learn a lot from family, games, and friends. So we have different education systems, that's true, but even then we can find that we have something in common with the Mandan of Slant village. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Discovering Fort Abraham Lincoln. I hope to see you soon.